Hey everyone, this is the second Road to the Oscars episode. Today's episode is going to be all about Dunkirk. We're going to talk about all of the reasons why it's being nominated for many Academy Awards, share our thoughts of it, and give it our real score. This is episode 14 of the Reel-ists podcast. Hey, Team Reel-ists. This is Oscar.
This is Donnie.
You didn't expect that. Hi, Ruben.
No,
You guys both didn't expect that. We're going to get this.
All right, switching it up. All right.
We're going to make this a trend. If you listen to us, you are a Team Reel-ists.
Team Reel-ists.
But yes, thank you everyone for listening to the new episode, episode 14.
Hey.
We are going to cover Dunkirk, but just want to mention a few things. We release all our episodes on Thursday, so definitely share with everyone. If they love to hear movie podcasts, if they love to hear movie talk, just tell them about us.
Even if they don't, just make them listen.
if they owe you something, tell them they got to listen to 5 episodes.
Right.
Specifically the latest episodes. But yeah, definitely share, tweet us, share with us. We're on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Team Reel-ists. That's Team REELISTS, no dash. Definitely can catch us on that. And yes, as a reminder for everyone that's just tuning in maybe for the first time, this is the Reel-ists podcast where we cover movies and we kind of take a twist on it. Not twist, I shouldn't say, but we had a statement. I was trying to go off the statement. I'm not going to lie. I try to incorporate it differently.
Yeah.
Donnie, what's our statement?
It is where the Reel-ists podcast, where we review films and consider how certain scenes and aspects tie into real life.
That's what I was going to say.
That's what you meant.
That's what I
meant.
meant.
I liked where you were going with it, because we don't always want to say that exact same statement every time.
We're not
switch it up.
we're not a store. We're not,
So basically, we talk about movies, and we basically look at scenes and go, that would never happen in real life, or, oh my God, that just happened to me.
Those are the expressions, yes.
But it's normally it's, that would never happen in real life.
Or, if it did happen, I wouldn't react that way. That's another one.
Yeah, that's probably the better one.
But yes.
Like, if I was him, I would have fill in the blank.
Someone's gonna edit that and be like, I would have killed him.
Killed her.
Kidnapped his wife. But yes, so in case you guys tune in for the first episode, just want to give you that fresh reminder. All right, with that being said, we are going to go into a spoiler discussion of Dunkirk.
Oh my God, don't spoil it.
Thank you for adding that. Although, I just realized briefly, yes. I don't want to break the tradition. You didn't say a nickname for Ruben in this episode.
I was hoping nobody caught that, because I don't have one other one. Do I do one every episode or one per night?
I mean, no, it was per episode.
People, yeah.
Did I call you two different names?
People are demanding.
No, it's not people's fault that we do 2 episodes a night. You think of
That's the challenge, man. That's what they want to see how far you can go. Is this
Rubino? The Great Rubino.
That's not the movie we're talking about. That should have been saved.
That should have been on the Sandlot episode. Yeah, dang it! All right,
yeah.
Can I switch whatever my answer was on that one?
Can we? Can we go back and modify?
I know.
In that case,
edit it out.
Remove the episodes where we had a bad word.
Yeah, we both did too.
You had to.
It started with you though.
Trendsetter, exactly. You're welcome.
Yeah, you're leading me down a bad path. You're supposed to be a good influence.
So the Dunkirk.
Back to what we were originally going to talk about.
Before Donnie goes on a rant here, just to give a brief synopsis. In May 1940, Germany advanced into France, trapped Allied troops on the beaches of Dunkirk. Under air and ground cover from British and French forces, troops were slowly and methodically evacuated from the beach, using every serviceable naval and civilian vessel that could be found. Oh my gosh, I almost lost it there.
It's all right.
So that is the basics plot of Dunkirk. Donnie, initial thoughts.
My goodness. This film is amazing. Let's see. I don't even know where to begin. Jesus. When I first saw the film, I'll start with that. So I watched this film not too long ago, probably like what, a month ago, 2 months ago?
In December, yeah, it was December.
Like 2 months ago. Probably at like 1:30 in the morning because I couldn't sleep.
How rude. I was waiting to see it with you. But
I'm
anyway,
sorry. You had already seen it in IMAX.
Yeah.
So it's not like you were going to really get anything.
It was on our 4K TV. Was it on 4K?
We can still watch it.
Did we have it on our 4K yet?
We did because I watched it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, continue.
So I turned this movie on because I had been hearing only amazing things about it. And I honestly, I was like, man, it's 1:30. I don't know if I'll even finish it tonight. I might get tired. I pushed play, and for the whole duration of the film, I was literally on the edge of the couch. I don't say the edge of my seat, so I said the edge of the couch. I was literally on the edge of the couch. It was such an epic movie. I mean, in every way, from the score and the music to just the cinematography to, I mean, the locations that they shot in, the aerial sequences, the ground sequences, the shots on water, like oh my gosh, it was such a just epic. The only thing I can say is like it was an epic film. Like I just you were like in that environment. Like that film put you right in the middle of it. Like you were there.
Yeah.
And
I'm right there with you.
And I was thinking like, oh, you know, how is this going to be different from any other war story? And I mean, yeah, like war was kind of, I mean, there was a war going on and that was kind of the theme, but I mean, it wasn't like your typical war movie. Like it wasn't,
it was not. No,
it wasn't about a war.
Like this was, what? Well, I think, was it just one day?
Yeah. Or it was, well, no, it was over. So in air, it was an hour. On sea, it was a day. On land, it was
4 minutes. No.
Wasn't it like a week or something?
No, was it a week?
I thought it was a week. I thought it was a day, or I thought it was an hour, a day, and a week. I can Google it real quick.
But I mean, to bounce off what you're saying, I 100% agree. It was one of those films that I went in and I was like, okay, I'm not the biggest historian. I'm not one that, you know, thrives on, you know, what's happened in the past. But yeah, I was hooked. And I mean, I did see it in IMAX. So the first scene of like the 5 guys, you know, just like it feels like a normal day, and then all of a sudden they're being shot at and they're being killed. It was just intense from the beginning, and it hooks you on. And I was really expecting it to be kind of like one of those movies that was going to fall into like, we need to win this war. And the movie was not necessarily about the war. It was about these group of people in this situation. And I thought that was a different take of a war film that was great. It was one of those things where you actually are not necessarily watching how history plays out, but you're feeling like you're getting a in-depth look at how it felt to be in this scenario, to be in this real life situation. And you just want to survive. Like,
yeah,
you don't really have anything else. Like, you're not even fighting necessarily. I mean, you have, I know the air troops, the people that were flying, they had their job of protecting the people and actually fighting. They were like the only ones that really were that was fighting.
Really only where the like kind of battle came in.
Exactly.
You know, and it was a few individuals. Like it wasn't like this, you know, army of these guys and an army of those guys. Like it was just a couple of air fighters. But yeah, like you said, I mean, this was a movie of like survival and like of just like hope, like waiting to be rescued, waiting to like and to not die, basically. Like that's all they could do was just wait for like salvation.
It was improv and survivalist all together in this time frame, and you really just were very intrigued. Like I remember seeing the part where Tommy and I'm the main character, or one of the main characters, Tommy, and whoever he meets, like they get one of the injured people, just try to get onto the boat.
Yeah.
They fail, they can't get on it, then they try to sneak their way in, and that boat ends up like sinking, and like there was just a lot of those.
Gibson was the other guy.
Gibson.
So they're trying to get the injured guy onto the boat.
Because he was quiet. Yeah, there's just a lot of those moments where you're really just seeing that they're just trying. Like people are jumping to the boats. They're just trying to find a way to get out of this area that is being attacked. and like the fear, like I remember
And there's like nowhere to go. Like you literally just
you're
have
at the
to
corner of the water.
You have to
at the
brace
beach.
them coming and brace the bullets and try
Hope it
to
misses, yeah.
and pray that it misses.
Like I remember,
And you have to keep doing that over and over and over until somebody comes to rescue you.
I remember the part that I remember was the trailer when like the sound. If you remember, if you watch the first trailer, there's a part where it's a sound getting louder, and like everyone gets like scared and tries to duck. And then I was like, okay, I was thinking something epic was gonna happen. Like there's a plane flying towards them or something, but it was really just like the plane was there. It was in the air shooting, dropping bombs. So, but I really was curious as to why were they getting scared, and I see this now. I see it watching this film that you're on the ground. You're not in. There's no shelter. There's nothing in this beach area for you to just be like, oh, I got to get under this, or if I dig a hole, I'll be fine. Like if you just get struck, it's very unfortunate. It's very scary. That's one of those things where I was like, if I was in this spot, maybe it might be easier to just be like, where's the bullet? Throw myself because this is crazy to try to survive that. But Tommy was one of those. He wasn't necessarily hopeful, but he fought. Like he just kept going. He was like,
I'm gonna stay alive.
Right. I was like, all right, this boat went down. What's next?
Yeah.
Oh, look, we could hide there for a little bit. I'll do that. Like that was awesome.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing that I loved about this movie was how it told 3 different stories, and like just brought this narrative, and it brought it all together very nicely. It wasn't forced. It didn't feel rushed. It was like it was timed right for each story, and it was really, really well done and beautiful.
It was so beautiful,
like,
so beautiful.
I just remember first seeing like just the words of like one day, and I was
1
just
hour.
Like, I was like, okay, it's a countdown. I was like, oh, they're gonna give us a countdown, and then they gave us the hour one. I was like, okay, what is going up with this? And then when you started to see, like, wait a minute, that was a scene that they just did earlier, like not too long ago, and that's what I was like, whoa, that's crazy.
I mean, yeah, just effortlessly interwoven, like all 3 stories. Oh my god,
land, sea, and sky, like all.
It's just it
was crazy.
It was just that. I don't have words. It was just so beautifully done, so beautifully.
Yeah,
done.
like the dad and the son, when they got on the boat, they took initiative and they went to go try to rescue them, and
right.
Like it was really, it was just,
there was like, I found myself just holding my breath for a lot of the film.
Yeah,
because it's like there was never a point in this, at least for me, there was never a point in this film where like anything really lulled, or like where it got just super calm and like, oh, okay, I think we can breathe here for a little bit, like I think we're safe, because you're not safe. Like in the minute you like think, oh, I can catch my breath and kind of relax, then something else happens. So it was like, and with the epic music, the epic score that was like pulsating throughout the whole film, it just kept me so not like on, I mean, on the edge of the couch, I say, but like just like
that's gonna be the new
just
phrase.
Ready, just like bracing myself like for what's gonna happen next, but not in a bad way. It was like I was so like it engaged me so much. It like pulled me in so much, and that's like my biggest thing about this film. How it just is able to literally just pull you in, and where you're so like focused and you're so into it, like. I mean, if the film had kept going for like another hour and a half, I probably still would have been into it. Like it was just that big and epic, and like I regret that I didn't see it in IMAX, because I know that would have given it a whole another experience to it. Like, you were fortunate enough to see it in IMAX. I was happy to see it on the 4K TV. It was great. It looked good, but I would have loved to have been like surrounded, fully immersed in,
I think,
on a humongous screen.
You saw the digital copy of the film, and the digital copy crops the IMAX scenes. Mm-hmm. So there are scenes that you were supposed to see full screen, like it was supposed to be the full entire TV. So that's unfortunate that you did not get that
right
experience. That is very unfortunate. I don't think. I mean, it doesn't impact your experience watching the movie itself, but that's definitely one where you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think
it would have been.
It doesn't change my love for the film, right. I think, but I mean, yeah, so a little slightly different experience, I think, watching it, but it's fine.
And I mean, one of the things that I would say is a critique, and I don't know if necessarily it would be a fair critique, but given that it is tied to a real life war or a moment in war, I didn't learn much about that war or about that. I get like that wasn't the goal of the movie, but I felt like a little bit of context would have been helpful, and there were some things you pick up from the dialogue, but I really was just like, okay, who we're fighting, what time period is this? And like there was a lot of times where I'm like, I can't try to put it into context of the war. I need to keep it spaced into this is just a story. Like I had to make myself from just change that this is real life story. Well, not real life in the sense of what happened, but like this is not one of those movies that I should try to think of like fact for fact kind of thing, and I just really need to watch this story unfold because I was getting lost in that side, and that is part, like maybe that's part of my fault that I didn't do my historical research of what Dunkirk really happened and all that.
Well, I think too, like whenever you see a war film, I think like most audience members like are kind of expecting the director or the filmmaker to put some context to it, so to kind of feed us a little information so we get
like,
it,
like the cliche news, news outlets of like Germany, blah, blah, blah,
right? Or or just even like a little like when a film opens and there's just text that you just read, and it just kind of brings you up to speed on where they're at in the film, and I guess for whatever this film didn't really decide to do that. I did have to kind of, because I didn't really know much about like the Dunkirk evacuations or anything, so I did have to like kind of Google it after I saw the film. Yeah, but it's crazy that it happened. Like it really happened.
That
like this
realness to it, and given that we're the Reel-ists podcast, we can't really be like that was not believable, because that happened. That straight up happened. Granted, a lot of characters are fictional or inspired by real life, heroes. But man,
speaking of heroes, Tom Hardy, who was playing one of the air fighters, he was a hero.
He was. That sacrifice.
And it took me I was like, when they kept going back to that sequence, and I was like, wait, is he a good guy or a bad guy? At first, I wasn't sure, and then you realize he's a good guy, and yeah, man, he was just like, he was so good. He was so good in that film.
Of all the characters,
I mean, like
overall, they brought. I don't know. Okay. I will say they weren't being asked for too much, in the sense like they didn't have to give that emotional. Like,
it's not like they had to bust out in this like 20-minute monologue or
anything like that.
Yeah,
like there wasn't those kinds of moments that you expect.
I feel like for them, I think the biggest thing for them to do was just to react. Like there was so much going on, and like I felt like for this project they really had to just go like, okay, this is what's happening, and I need to react as honestly as a person would react.
Right. This was more an appreciation for the film side of it, not necessarily the performance side.
This is
definitely something that you really, the actors did what they needed to give this movie life, for sure. Mm-hmm. That part I won't say is a critique in that sense, but it is unfortunate that there wasn't much. This movie was short.
And there wasn't like, it wasn't like there was a ton of dialogue in this movie either.
There was not.
It was like
anybody can watch this movie, and
I'm sure the script, like if you just only had the dialogue of the characters like written in script form, like that script would probably be so small.
You'd be like, oh, this is a short film.
Oh yeah, it's a student film. Oh, it's or I think it's like a short. No. But yeah,
like that's a great thing that you don't.
And that's what just blows my mind too, because it's like, for a film to not have that much dialogue, not have that many words for characters to be speaking, but to be so captivating and so just like mesmerizing and beautiful and epic, and like it's just,
hands down to the team that made this movie. And we saw a little bit of the bonus features when they were talking about the planes that they use, and they had to try to be realistic, but they also had to accommodate to film it and like all that kinds of things. Everything they did the boats, you know, the location
Right.
felt real. It did. There was not one sense out there, you know.
Oh, this is CGI.
Right. Oh, look at that green screen in the back.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Like, it was really well done. You know, time was put in and great effort.
And it was done right. It wasn't
is-
just like, oh, well, we'll just edit that, or we'll just like, you know, yeah, like you said, green screen this plane. Like, no.
And the, like, you know, the water scenes when they were in the water and like the boats, you know, were exploding, or, you know, they were being fired and they had to go underwater. It was really well done. So I really do appreciate the filming process, the behind the scenes that made this movie, like all that went into it. And I think that's probably why it is getting recognized for, you know, all its achievements in that sense. It's definitely not one that, it's not a movie that has a twist and turn that you talk about, or is something that really hooks you on. It's really just a movie that you can watch without knowing the background, but just following these characters and wanting to see them survive. If you, I mean, I know some people might not necessarily be like, I don't care if they survive or not. You know, I mean, I get that there's people that don't have that emotional attachment to the characters, and you don't really have emotional attachment to the. At least I didn't. It was kind of hard because you don't know them.
It was, yeah, I didn't have to, not one specific character. It was just for all of them collectively. When I was just like, because you know, it's like it's kind of like, it's, you know, kind of broadening your scope and looking at all of them as like, you know, they're all kind of experiencing the same thing. It's like they're all, you know, waiting to either survive or die. They're all hoping and praying that, you know, someone will come to their aid and their rescue. So it's like, yeah, you don't necessarily focus in on one character, I don't think. Or like I said, I don't. But,
yeah, I mean,
but as a whole, it's like, I mean, I want them all to live. Like I'm rooting for someone to come and rescue them, you know?
Right. Because you're at this point, you probably have to just be like, if I was in the situation, I would want someone to come and rescue you. But yeah, there is no Superman. There is no, you know, savior that just comes in and wipes out the enemies. I mean, Tom Hardy is probably the closest that saves a lot of lives at a cost of his own life, because he ends up having to like
he has to land his plane and then he gets captured.
Yeah. So
and he probably ended up dying.
Probably, yeah.
And I felt like that. I feel like even that. I mean, that's kind of jumping to the end. But I feel like when he did land his plane, and like when they came up to him with guns, and you know, like he's being captured, and you know he's gonna, you're pretty sure he's gonna die, and you just think about, like, I'm sure he knew that. I'm sure he didn't land his plane and go, oh, you know, I'm safe. Like, you know, he probably knew he was gonna get captured, and
he made that sacrifice.
He made the sacrifice. Like, he was a martyr in that sense, and like, I don't know. I just remember that really hit me in a weird way.
This does bring the question that I wanted to ask. The ending doesn't necessarily end it completely for these characters. It leaves it open. It leaves it in the sense that they are going to go on with their lives. They survived this. They are going to go on. Did you want that kind of conclusion? Did you want it where maybe like you find out what happens to them? Like, oh, he ends up not going back to the war, and like, I know they were fictional characters, but given that they survived this, I mean, wouldn't you want to know what they end up doing? Like, because it would have been unfortunate if, you know, again, they're fictional, so I know it can take its leeway in that, but it would have been unfortunate if one of them did survive this, but then gets shot 2 days later at a bar for being at the wrong place, wrong time kind of accident, or gets hit by a car. You know, one of those like things. I feel like that would have been that would have been great for the end for these characters, because again, these characters, you know, we're not going to get Dunkirk 2. That's not going to be a thing.
Yeah,
we're going to be like, they got put back
on Dunkirk.
And so, like, yeah, like, wouldn't you want the official confirmation that Tom Hardy's character was killed, or, you know, like, I think the only one that really had a complete closure was George, which was the boy that was part of the group that was in the boat with the dad and the son, trying to rescue whoever they found.
That hit me too. Like when the son went and put him in the paper when they got home. Oh my god! Like,
that was the only one that really had a conclusion. Everyone else was just
his was like kind of definitely concluded.
Well, because spoiler,
spoiler,
he
he died. But yeah, I
said that
no.
so
To be honest, I didn't really. I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying, like to kind of know what happens after they're rescued, but like I think, I mean, the focus was so just on like if they're even going to be rescued. So when they do get rescued, a lot of them do get evacuated and get to go home. It's like, oh, thank God. It's like, at least for me, it's like, okay, if they want to keep fighting or not, I don't care. But they're just get them off this island, like just get them home, return them safe to.
How
like,
do you
their
know
family.
they go home though? That's the thing. Like you don't see them go home. Like what happens if the train ended up being,
I mean, it was a historical event, so I looked it up, and they did go. I mean, they
well,
were rescued.
Not these
but
characters. Not
these.
I know a good chunk, yes, of the real life people that were in this position did, but like, wouldn't you still want to know that, Tommy, like one of the main characters, Tommy, he does have a life after this. It's not, or he decides, he needs to go back and fight and continue in the war. Like, wouldn't you want to know what decisions this had, like the repercussions of what he just went through would have on his life? I mean, because granted, we are years later, so it's not like...
yeah, but I feel like that just would have taken the film in a completely different direction, because that's not what the film was.
I mean, they don't even have to show it. It could be the written, text of Tommy goes up. Like, I'm just saying, because I know in the last episode for Peter Rabbit, you wanted... like more? That you wanted more. You wanted
it. Just varies by film. Like some film, like yes,
right, we're back
Peter
to
Rabbit.
Here I want
Peter Rabbit. I wanted more. Dunkirk, like I felt like satisfied. Like I walked away. Like it wasn't like, oh, but what about Tommy? But what then? What happens now? Like it just I don't know why. It just was.
Maybe because you weren't emotionally attached to the characters. Could that be a factor?
I don't think that's why. Because I mean, I was emotionally attached to all of them. Like I said, collectively, it wasn't like this one specific person. I mean, there was like, I was just interested in basically their survival. So to know that they survived that, I mean, like you said, some of them could have died 2 days later. Some of them could have had PTSD and committed suicide. I mean, who knows? Like anything could have happened to them.
Because I mean, I feel like that's part of the survival, though. What you do afterwards, after you've survived something big like this. This isn't, I had a bad day at school. Even that, something like that, still has an effect on you. Like if you really had a bad day at school, you can end up becoming a bully too. Because then those kinds of like repercussions. Like I get that we did get a answer. Yes, they did get out of this situation. But I mean, I'm not saying I wanted them to show every single detail that happened, but I feel like they could have gave a nice little wrap up of like, Tommy does grow up, going back to the war. He finishes. After that, he meets someone and falls in love, and now is, happy with his wife and child, or something like that. Something that okay, he survived this, but he still did not let that stop him what he felt was right to do in his life. I mean, because it's.
But then they would have had to do that for so many characters.
Not really. There's.
Tommy, not all 800,000 of them.
Tommy, maybe the father and the son that were in the boat, and maybe a conclusion to Tom Hardy's character. I mean, I think that's really. I can't think of any other characters. Maybe the captain, but the captain did decide to stay, so he kind of had his conclusion. So yeah, I mean, there was some. I don't think there was that many.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like it was focusing on the specific event. So, like, had they wanted to, like, bring into, like, context, oh, this is what happened after that, I mean, I feel like it would have kind of changed the film a little bit. Like, I just don't think it was necessary. That's why it wasn't put in. Right?
I mean,
if it was not, I
mean, you're probably sharing similar thoughts to the director himself, but I don't know if that was... I mean, yeah, if that's the director's decision, of course. But I'm just saying, if you're going to tell a story about characters, and this is the only time we're going to see these characters. I know they're inspired by real people, but these characters, we just put, over an hour of time of watching them survive. I personally feel like I would want to know what this did to them afterwards. And again, I'm not saying like I want visually to see.
I feel like though, if you do that, then that's gonna, I mean, because you're left with the impression, for me, I'm left with the impression that they all survived and they got evacuated and they're finally going to their safety. So that makes me relieved and that satisfies me and makes me walk away from the film saying like, oh, thank God they got away or they're rescued. But if you start putting in, oh, well, with this character, they went on and did that character, unfortunately, this happened to them. Like, that would just bring it down. Like, I'm on a high knowing that they're all rescued, so I don't want to go into, like, detail about what happened to, how they lived out the rest of their life.
That's tough, too, because then you're living off a fantasy that everything's good, and then, they survived. I'm just saying, if you're going to do a movie about this critical time in place, you can't dust off the realist part of it.
But you can, because that's not the movie is about this specific period in time. It's not like Dunkirk and what happens after Dunkirk or life after. It's Dunkirk.
Well, no,
it's the epic, the battle, quote unquote, the battle. Like, that's what the film was about. That's what it's depicting.
Well, not the battle, because we didn't really. The battle was not the coverage.
The battle to survive.
Are you just trying to pull out of your hat, I guess?
No, really, I'm being serious.
The battle to survive, wasn't it
the struggle to survive? Whatever you want to say.
But okay, that being said, agree to disagree is where we're at.
Yeah,
officially agree to disagree stamped. What is your favorite scene?
My favorite scene is when they finally get to Dunkirk and it's like the son.
Dunkirk.
Yeah, the son. No, the son and the father when they're in their boat. And you see, it starts at the end of the film, and you see all the civilian boats, all them what are they called? The mercenaries?
Yeah.
All the civilian boats that they all band together to come and try to rescue these people. That was my favorite scene. I was like, oh my God, to see all those little boats, all those little boats, to see all those little boats out there and just like that, because the one guy that they had rescued. He was telling the guy that the father, he was like, turn around. I was there. I'm from Dunkirk. It's not going to end well. You're not going to be able to save a bunch of people, blah, blah, blah. And,
right.
And he was just like, no, we're going to save as many people as we can. And to see that he wasn't the only one that thought that. And if all those fishermen boats had thought, they were all kind of collectively thinking the same thing. So it's like, if you're just looking at the individual, if you're just looking at the dad who's taking his son to go rescue people, you would think, oh, well, he's only going to be able to save a couple people. But because so many of them all thought like that, they were able to save a lot more people. And yeah, it was great. It was just, I was like, yeah, it spoke to me. I got a little teary-eyed, I'm not going to lie, on that part.
I think
that was my favorite scene. I mean, the whole movie was it was hard to even just think of a favorite scene because the whole movie was so good.
So your favorite scene
that was my favorite
the entire movie.
I just told you what my favorite scene was, so
you just kind of was like the entire movie.
I said it was hard to pick. Here we go. Okay, for the record, because Ruben recorded it, what I said was it was hard to pick a favorite scene because I liked the whole movie.
Poor Ruben, he's gonna have to lower the volume at that part to balance. My favorite scene. Because we're going to wrap up on you. You're done with. Listen, Linda.
Go ahead. I'm listening. You're just rambling.
My favorite scene is when the group of, I don't want to say boys, but the younger group, they find that fishing boat and they go in there to kind of be, I don't want to say survive the night.
Kind of hide out?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you get those troopers that are using that as target practice, and then that causes holes, and the tide starts to come, and the water starts to sink, and then you find out that
Gibson
ends up
is a German.
No, he was French. I think he was French. He wasn't.
No, they accused him of being a German because he wasn't saying anything.
But he ended up being French. I think that was it. But the point was, you would find out find out his history and that kind of stuff, and he ends up dying. He doesn't end up making it. Mm-hmm. But that entire struggle, because I just remember watching that scene, and when they were shooting, you're like, you can't really hide in this moment. You're already hiding. They're just shooting,
and you can't aimlessly scream or make noise.
And one of them got hurt.
One of them did get shot, and then they had to cover his mouth so he wouldn't scream.
Like that scene was very intense, and that was probably the one scene that I just would not know what to do, in particular in that situation, because you can't do anything. You can't escape, because then the enemy sees you. You know, and you have to like find the corners of this fishing boat to not get shot at, and hope that they don't decide to shoot randomly at that spot. So that was probably my favorite scene, because a lot did go on. You know, a lot of, like, I don't want to say I was scared for the characters, but I was nervous that either they were going to get caught, or when the water started coming in, they were going to be stuck and drown.
Mm-hmm.
Or they did get shot. Like, that would have been tragic if all of them died thinking they were good for the night, and they all died because people were target practicing on the boat.
Yeah.
So that was definitely my favorite scene. So it's one of those where, man, that's the one thing I keep thinking of. Like, you think you're safe in this part. You feel like, okay, I found something. I might be able to do it. And nope.
And then nope.
And it's just like all the other boats, you know, like when they thought they were actually getting away and they were having dinner, and they get hit.
Yeah, and then they got hit by the torpedo.
Yeah, like all those just things where it's just like, all right, we're safe.
That's why it's like I was saying, like I was just holding my breath for so long, of like, you know, because you're constantly like you don't know what's gonna happen, and like you said, they're eating dinner and they're thinking it's fine, and then the torpedo comes and sinks their boat, or they hide out in this, you know, boat thing, and then they're getting shot at. Like, it's just, there's nowhere you can go.
Yeah, for real, it's one of those, like, I don't know if I can ever put myself in that situation. Definitely be a character defining moment. If I was and I survived, I would tell my story and be called Dunkirk with Oscar. Dunkin' with Oscar. I don't know.
Dunkin' with Oscar. Dunkin' Donuts sponsor me.
But yes, that was my favorite scene. So with our scenes been discussed, are you ready for the real scores?
Yeah, I am.
All right. I'm going to predict yours.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to go with 4.5. Ruben? Is that correct? Incorrect. What was it, Donnie?
What was it, Ruben?
It was a 5.
I gave it a 5 out of 5 reels.
Whoa.
I did.
But it wasn't your number one
I
in
did.
2017. It was your number 2.
No, it was my number 2.
It was my number 2.
It was, yeah.
So that
it was like neck and neck with.
So by math, Lady Bird has to be 5.0.
Yeah. Has to be what?
Has to be a 5.0. I don't know. I said 0.0.
Yeah, I'm like. Well, don't jump ahead. We still have to cover it.
I mean, is it? We'll find out.
Can you edit that out, Ruben? Because, geez, he just blew it.
I'm just saying, but based off our top 10, Dunkirk was number 2 for me, number 2 for you. So, I mean, if you give it that great score.
You could have said your number 1 movie, you would probably get 5 out of 5.
Whatever. Spoiler. It's spoiler. We said spoiler alert.
Spoiler for the movie, not for, like, future episodes.
Is it going to be we don't know. Apparently, we'll have to find out when we cover that.
Well, yes, I gave it a 5 out of 5 reels. It was a perfect film. It was, I mean, for me, there was nothing, I didn't walk away going, they could have done that better. They should have did this. Oh, but what about, you know, that? But what about the character? Like, I was fully satisfied. It pulled me in. It captivated me from start to finish. I mean, my heart was pumping. Like, I was in it. I was so in it. I was in it to win it. No, I wasn't in it to win it. But it was beautifully shot. The score was epic. The performances, yeah, there wasn't a ton of dialogue, so they could only do so much, but just react to what was going on in the scenes. But I thought all the actors did really well. You know, all this, like, shot, you know, when things exploding and all the technical things were just believable and real. It was great. I have nothing bad to say about it. I don't have anything bad to say about it. So that's why I give it a 5 out of 5. And I feel like everyone should see it.
If they haven't.
Already.
Yeah, I want to watch it. I'm going to watch it.
All right, so.
Ruben's going to be like, you gave this a 5 out of 5.
He's probably going to text you too and be like, all right, go, Donnie. What's my score?
I think, I mean, you loved it too. I mean, I think you would give it 5 out of 5 movie rules.
That's your answer?
Yeah.
You're wrong.
4.5.
Yeah.
Dang.
4.5. It was on the cusp
I thought we were.
of being a 5, but for the reasons I mentioned in the episode of the things that I found, and I don't want to say issues with it, but things that I had thought about in that sense. It wasn't all that like the way you say it's just like, no flawless kind of thing. I did have my things where I can see improvements.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things is maybe possibly the context of what's going on. For anyone watching this movie, I get what the point of the movie is, which is what the majority of the film is. But I don't think it would hurt to kind of give someone the understanding of what's going on. Because down the road, we still have the close connection to the history type part of it, but in the year 3000, 982 years.
Not in 82 years, but 982 years.
In the year 3000...
Watch that be wrong, too. It's not 982 years. I'm going to do this on the calculator just so I can make sure I'm not wrong.
In the future, I feel like this is one that may not stand test of time because it may not stand for the history side of it. It may get lost in the film.
I think that would be really hard. I mean, it was World War II. Like, that's... I mean, and we're in 2018.
Yeah,
like, but... I mean...
A movie...
I get what you're saying.
A movie can't cover... I mean, that's just a small thing. I'm not saying... I mean, I gave it a 4.5, so I'm not saying this is the reason why I gave it a 2. But that small thing would have helped me understand
982 years, that's right.
Would have helped me understand the scope of this time. And then there's also the ending that I felt did not really end this story for these characters, which is what this movie is focused on. These characters in this situation. I know that can go into a different kind of territory of like, the discussion of PTSD, the discussion of, anxiety, sacrifice, like all these are different discussions. But these characters are real people, real stories. And so you definitely want to honor that too for the real people. So you can't just assume everyone went in the light and went in a good way. There was people that probably still felt that they didn't escape, and maybe they're still like have those feelings.
Maybe that was just open to their audience member, like
it's
them fill in
definitely
the blanks
possible.
themselves.
But I'm one of the audience members that feels like maybe they should have just concluded these characters, because again, we're not seeing these characters. I doubt we're going to see these characters ever again, unless Christopher Nolan decides to do like the next movie where it's a time crossing and characters from all his films decide to come together and kind of thing. Maybe we might see him in that sense, but we're not going to get a Dunkirk 2 or two Duncan.
Duncan 2.
But yeah, so those little things I do feel would have improved the film in my personal opinion. Granted, we agree to disagree on that, but yeah, those are the reasons why I gave it a 4.5.
Well,
all the other
you can
positives,
tell Christopher Nolan that when you speak with him.
Oh, when I do my movie with him?
When you speak with him in the future.
I'd be like, see, he really doesn't.
So mark this. If you're listening, Mr. Nolan, I gave it a 5. I gave it a perfect score. Oscar didn't. Just saying.
I gave it a 4.5.
That's not a perfect score.
Is that an A still? And technically, if you break it down, is that still an A?
I think it's an A minus or an A.
Yeah.
Let's find out. We're gonna find out what
4.5 divided by 5.
I'm sure if he would have saw something that I've done, he probably would be like, your performance was a little too.
That's like a 90.
I think it's
Yeah, it's a 90. Yep. So it still got an A. I still gave it an A.
Right.
It's a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes.
What does that have to do with anything?
I'm just saying. I'm in the right range. Okay. You're not.
I'm not, because I gave it a perfect score. Okay.
But yes. All right. So those are our thoughts. It's definitely one of those that we are going to be cheering on to win.
Yes.
Many of the categories.
It better win. A few.
Best Picture. It's still tough to say.
Ooh, yeah, that's a tough one.
It will be tough.
That's a tough one.
We have. To
I think it could. I don't know.
We have 2 more movies to talk about. Maybe those might be some movies that deserve to win. We definitely understand why it would win more than anything.
Absolutely.
So we want all our Team Reel-ists listeners to let us know what you guys think about that. That is going to be a trend, guys.
I like how that became a thing.
That became a thing in this episode. Team Reel-ists. Yes, just let us know your thoughts. Let us know if you guys agree with Donnie if it's a perfect score. Maybe the things that I'm critiquing it for are not relevant or anything. We definitely want to hear your thoughts. Share us, your overall opinion.
And they all better agree with me. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have this like civil war.
Just kidding. No, I do. Please, guys, let us know. I want to know your thoughts. We always want to know your thoughts, but for sure, we want to hear from you guys. Do you agree with me, or did you agree with Oscar? Are you Team Donnie or are you Team Oscar?
You're Team Reel-ists, but you got to pick a specific side. And yeah, so definitely keep that in touch. Social media, you guys can find us. We already said it. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Team Reel-ists, Team REELISTS, no dash.
Hey.
Don't forget to always catch us on our main platforms. iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, Spotify, our website, therealistpodcast.libsyn.com.
We everywhere.
Before we go out, though, we do have some things we want to talk about next week. We are going to do another Road to the Oscars, of course.
Woo!
And we also are going to have our first guest with us doing our episode.
That's exciting.
Black Panther.
Our very first guest.
Justin. I know you're probably listening to this. You should be listening to this. Hopefully that pumps you up. We're going to be talking about that with him. He's seen the movie already before we have.
Yeah, he has.
He got a employee screening.
Special screening.
Yeah, that's awesome. So he's probably going to have fun things to share about. Definitely be a fun dialogue, a different twist in our usual.
Gonna mix
routine.
things up.
Episode 15.
Sure. I'm excited.
We're changing it up. Episode 15. But yep, definitely stay tuned for that. Catch us always on Thursdays, like always, on those platforms. Donnie, this was a great episode.
This was
a very intense discussion.
I mean, it wasn't that intense.
I mean, it's probably a most one that we've had in that, because we've actually been going on the agree side of it for a little bit. Now we've had our.
What other one did we do?
And the thing is, it's not even that big of like point difference.
It's really not. It's just like, it's just how it ended. You basically just wanted a little more, and I didn't want anything else. It was pretty small little difference
but
there.
It didn't feel like that.
but the way you said it didn't
exactly.
make it feel like that.
Ruben, did we forget anything? I think we got it all. This episode. We're good. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
all, Team Reel-ists.
Team Reel-ists.
See you next time.